First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua Ba'Shem Rakakudash. Yahweh to this world, ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai to this world, ignorantly calls Jesus. Ba'Shem means in the name, Rakah means spirit, and Kudash means holy. And that's all in the Paleo Hebrew. I also want to give double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. In today's video, I wanted to go into how we are not supposed to celebrate Christmas nor New Year's. Okay, so I'm gonna go straight into it. Ask ChatGPT, go into the pagan roots of Christmas and New Year's, and when was Yahushua actually born according to the Bible? So the first point, pagan roots of Christmas, December 25th, is not biblical. There's no verse in scripture that gives a command or date to celebrate the Messiah's birthday. The early believers did not celebrate birthdays at all. In scripture, birthdays are only recorded for pagans and kings, Pharaoh and Herod, right? And this is 100% on point. And I remember getting, some proof of this with the historian Josephus. So you go into Flavius Josephus. He was a Israelite historian, Roman Israelite historian, and military leader. And he has this famous, pretty much journal called the Antiquities of the Jews, which in this he wrote down a lot of the history of the Romans, what was going down during that time. But in one of his books, okay, right here is a quote. It says, he said, "Nay, indeed, the law does not permit us to make festivals at the birth of our children, and thereby afford occasion of drinking to excess." Josephus, translated by W. Winston against Appian, Book 2, Chapter 26, extracted from Josephus' complete works, right? So that's the publication, that's the proof right there where this comes from. So him literally saying that, we're not supposed to celebrate our birthday. So, how much, if he says not for our own children, how much less for, Yahushua. It's the same thing when it comes to Yahushua. We're not supposed to celebrate his birthday. And second, his birthday was not even in December 25th. It was around Passover, around the spring. But December 25th was already sacred long before Christianity. Saturnalia, Rome, so celebrated December 17th, 23, goes back to honoring Saturn, the god of agriculture, and included gift-giving, feasting, drunkenness, decorating homes with greenery, lawlessness. Also goes back to Sol Invictus, the sun god, celebrated December 25th, marked the rebirth of the sun after the winter solstice, right? Which the winter solstice, right, today, yesterday, are essentially the longest nights of the year. Okay, that is the winter solstice. It says Emperor Aurelian officially established it. The sun was believed to die and be reborn. When Rome later adopted Christianity, they rebranded the sun god's birthday as Christ's birthday to convert pagans without changing their customs, right? And I believe that goes back to Constantine when he mixed, the form of Christianity with all those Roman gods. He mixed paganism with the Bible. So the Christmas tree equals pagan worship, right? Jeremiah 10 and verse 3, it says, "For the customs of the people are vain, for one cutteth the tree out of the forest, for the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold, they fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good." Right, so going into the tree, right, the Christmas tree, decking it with silver and gold, as I say, deck da 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 da. That song. It's decking it with silver and gold, fastening it with and nails that it doesn't move, upright as a palm tree. This is literally talking about the Christmas tree, how it's idolatry, and we are not supposed to do these things. So let's keep going. Tree worship existed among Babylonians, Egyptians, Germans, and Druids. It says pagan roots of New Year. January Janus, named after Janus, Roman god of time, doorways, beginning and endings. Janus had two faces looking back and forward. Romans celebrated sacrifices to Janus, drunken feasts, vows, and resolutions to false gods. And that's what the same thing they do today. People are worshiping this false god Janus without even knowing it. Right? New Year's, when, as it says, the biblical New Year is not even in January. It says in scripture the year begins in spring, not winter. Exodus 12 and 2. This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. This month is Abib Nisan, around March and April. Okay? So January 1 is the Roman civic calendar, and biblical New Year is spring tied to Passover and creation cycles. So, it doesn't even line up with what is actually the New Year. New Year is in the spring. That's why, everything starts blossoming, because that's, the new year. So then it starts going into something about Yahushai. It says shepherds were in the fields, Luke 2:8, and they were in the same country, shepherds abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. Shepherds do not stay in open fields at night in winter, December to February. They do this in spring or fall. Right, so that was going into the time Yahushua was born. Those shepherds were out, so showing you it can't possibly have been around December. And ultimately it goes into, he was born around Feast of Tabernacles, the Passover. There's some mixed things there, but ultimately it's 100% not on December 24th and 25th. So straight to the point, follow not after the ways of the heathen. Jeremiah 10:2, thus saith Yahweh, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. You're not supposed to worship Christmas nor New Year's. Okay, it is idolatry, it is pagan, and the Lord has commanded us not to do it. So quick, straight into the point. Hopefully this was edifying. With that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakudash, and double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Shalom to you, like Shalom.